So we got to go through a list of witnesses for the crimes that Fred Meyers. We'll start off with the Hood River stalker. Followed me all the way here from Hood River. There's at least 7 recordings with him just from the trip here from Hood River. I turned around to go back the other way because he followed me. When I went back the other way, he followed me that way. When I came back this direction and went to the fuck, that hurts. Went to the rest area south of town here. He followed me there too. Now, how is he able to follow me so easily? Because I post up on YouTube where I am. Unless there are safety risks and issues for my friends and family, I post exactly where I am. When I tried to keep people's names safe, because they were going to help me, that was dependent upon whether or not they kept their word. When they didn't keep their word, they didn't keep their end of the verbal agreement or typed agreement. When they did not keep their word, I am under no obligation to further any more dealings with you. When you break the contract, I am not still required to keep the contract. The problem is, with most of you, you required me to do expensive and time-consuming things without the resources to do those things in order to get your help. Meanwhile, you obviously have the time and the resources to do those things. My predators will turn anything I do wrong in immediately, and lots of them. My friends will make excuses to not try. That's what it's like being a man, especially homeless, especially disabled, especially with filthy slurs like mentally ill. Mentally ill is a derogatory term used to victimize the victims. It's a double-edged sword, isn't it? You're supposed to tell people that you're mentally ill when you're being abused to get them to stop. Why are you supposed to do that? Because according to the law, it's a felony for them to do these things, especially if someone is called mentally ill. That's where special rights come in. The special rights for black people that obviously are not observed. The special rights for women are. They absolutely are. Not just special rights, but straight up ignoring the law outright, blatantly and obviously. Because nobody's going to care if you do this to a disabled homeless man. They're just going to be pathetic, useless people and say how fucking sorry they are and let people harm you. See, that's the thing. It wasn't just slander and isn't just slander. It's slander resulting in death. These police officers misappropriated your funds to have me harmed because they broke the law before Natalie's death. In Chesapeake, Virginia, in Boulder, Colorado, in Broomfield, Colorado, in Chapel, Nebraska. It didn't matter where I went. The term mentally ill didn't get cops to do their jobs. Explaining to them that I am an at-risk adult didn't get them to do their jobs. You get to hear all these people telling me to go to cops, and then you can hear the cops talking over me, selling their own narrative. When I get to important details, they don't write them down. They put away their notebook. They just want to confuse the situation as much as possible and say that you're confused. No, it's a complex situation. You're getting confused because you're not looking at evidence. You have no visual reference, and you're making every attempt not to look at the visual reference or listen. None of you follow the law. You break the law outright whenever you want. And when we get a public pretender, we know they're not going to do their jobs. Poor people can't even afford a real lawyer. If they can't afford a real lawyer, it's a bargain basement fucking lawyer. And you're not going to get shit. You're poor. You don't fucking matter. And your lawyer will let you know that outright. Then there's the protections for these people where they don't want to be recorded in court. So a judge can commit felony after felony after felony in a single day and have no repercussions for it because, oh, well, the person who is typing it must have typed something wrong. That's not our fault. Well, I recorded my court date. The judge showed outright complete and total disrespect and contempt for me from the very start. He outright ignored any and all evidence and testimony by me because I was illegally prevented from even being able to go to court. You don't stop to consider the safety risks for somebody who's easy to railroad in court, especially when these people get paid money. They get paid whether we get railroaded or not. But if we get railroaded, they get to charge us extra, force us to do slave labor. You want to call it, what do you want to call it? Community service? No, it's slave labor. Or immoral and illegal incarceration. How many homeless people in Boulder, Colorado were in jail for not paying a fine for using an outlet that it's not illegal to use? How about the fact that Boulder still has laws that its officers enforce that have been deemed immoral and illegal by the United States Supreme Court? Where am I at? Tillamook, Oregon, living in a vehicle. So what witnesses do we have? Now that we've gotten 7 minutes into it, and you think it's just going to be a rant. We've got Scott Scudder. We've got his mom, Kara Scudder. We've got his dad, Jason Scudder. His brother, Jared Scudder. Scott Scudder, Jason Scudder, Jared Scudder, Kara Scudder. She was a witness to multiple situations where we were stood up. But she also didn't understand the gravity of the situation, and she needed to explain to them that this is a serious situation instead of allowing them to blow us off to somewhere else, and you won't be able to go to that somewhere else for a week. Do you stop to consider the abuse that I have to go through in a week? How much of it I have to record on my little clandestine audio recording device because I can't possibly record it all the time on my phone? I do my best. A lot of times the reason it's on the audio recording device, even though it takes so long to download onto the internet, is because I have to try to use my phone to make a phone call. Or I have to try to use my phone so that I can scroll through and show people evidence, show them in person if they're there, if they're willing to look. The cops aren't. They know that I am unable to physically do this, to keep on carrying these things. They know that all of the places in town are unsafe for me to go because I will be blown off. This is illegal. It's immoral. Just like in Hood River, just like in the Dalles, just like in Boulder. It doesn't matter. A disabled homeless male, this is just simply the way he's treated alone. No matter how good or nice he is to everybody, They're going to blow him off for literally years. Oh, I can't. Yes, you can. I am asking you for something that is simpler than anything else. All I'm asking is you use your words and tell the truth. Now, if you're going to tell people what a piece of shit I am after the fact, you make sure and tell them why. When you accuse me of pretending that you didn't do anything, you're right. I am pretending. All of the good things that you want to claim that I never, ever told anybody, it's on my Facebook, it's on my YouTube. It's on my YouTube when Miss Peaches, or sorry, on my Facebook, that I did say when Miss Peaches took me places. That I did state, honestly, the interactions between myself and Mandy Hughes and Mandy Singer. You get to see how later on after the fact, I had to record it because they never came forward. They let people treat me like I was a paranoid, delusional schizophrenic, that I was making up and hallucinating people harassing me on the internet. Because nobody cares about men, especially not homeless, disabled men. Caleb is the grocery manager there. He has recorded at least 20 times on my YouTube channel. He's a witness. Tom is a witness. He's pissed off at me because he's recorded it on my channel. And so is Molly. She's recorded it on my channel. Don't fucking take advantage of me if you don't want to end up on my channel. Don't expect things from me and then treat me like shit and then expect more from me and slander my name and not expect to end up on my channel. Do not do it. Do not play victim after the fact, as if your safety was ever a warranted concern of anyone but me. Who is concerned enough to actually care enough to feed you and your son? How long have you lived in this town, and how many people have you fucked over to the point that they won't help you? How many times have you been told no by somebody and then treated them completely like shit? Oh, you guys treat me like I'm horrible for doing it back. I saved mine for the internet. There's also Dallas Palmer. Is he a figment of my imagination? No, he's recorded on my channel. He bought my boat. Paid me $150, thank goodness. I fucking needed it. It costs $3,200 a month on average to keep a roof over your head here. I get $800 in disability per month. There's also the fact that the waiting list here is very long. I'm fine. Everything's great. Yeah, that's totally enough to live on. Then you pretend I'm not disabled. You pretend because you pretend I'm not disabled, that my disabilities go away. You want to ignore my PTSD and my PTSD reactions and pretend that those are me being a volatile and hostile drug addict. I'm trying to get heard. When I am scared, I am not heard. People invalidate everything that I say. They go out of their way to invalidate it. When Brandon Ratner's brother disappeared, I did something right away because I actually cared. While he literally to this day has done nothing but make excuse after excuse after excuse not to try. And that's how he ended up on my channel, making excuse after excuse after excuse not to try. All he had to do was tell the truth. And to do it quickly instead of chasing pussy. Who else's witness is just over at the Fred Meyers? Rob is a witness that he victimized me for being victimized. Their security cameras are witnesses. My footage on my YouTube channel Those are verifiable witnesses. It's pretty easy to tell who holds a bias against the homeless by the way they stare at us, just so you know. But you want to pretend like if people stare at us like they want to fucking kill us. Literally stare at us like they want to kill us. Which is completely different from me being in Pumpkin Pantry and Robert Franklin Warnick walks in, a registered sex offender who assaulted me. And I had to beg people like Aaron Stegman and others for days to help me to turn it in. And then I had to rely on a preacher who wasn't a real preacher. Yes, I understand that recording on YouTube allows my predators to find me. On the bright side, if they're after me, they're not after my friends and family. If they harm my friends and family, I'm too far away for people to pretend that I did it. But my friends and family, that doesn't just include twisted fucks like my little sister and my older brother and my little brother, Michael Allen Albert, who thought that forcing himself on the girls in Chapel High School and raping his own daughter were okay. Those things are never okay. There's a difference between me and these sick pieces of shit. I've been at the receiving end of having a penis, and any woman at any point in time who doesn't get her way right when she wants it can throw a tantrum, play victim, and cops will harm you. They will use that bias to have police officers harm you. Every American holds this bias. We are all taught this. We're also taught this woke culture where women are not expected any gender roles, but they can still expect all gender roles by men to be fulfilled. That a man is to go to the back of the bus. Women are more likely to kill their children. Did you know that? They're more likely to physically abuse their children. Did you know that? They are more likely to neglect their children. Did you know that? Women are also more likely to get custody of their children, regardless of circumstance. 10% of the time, men get the custody. A woman has to be really bad, like really, really bad. Like Rose M. Kelly. To lose custody to your husband. You have to be really, really, really bad to lose your child to the husband or to the ex. You have to be an extremely horrible person, well documented as a horrible person, before they will give the man custody. And then these women, because they hold a grudge against the man, will make things up, pretend like he would hurt her or the child, so that she can deny him his custodial visits. She's allowed to record him, but if he records, it's, oh, well, you can't do that. You can't do that. That's illegal. Really? It's not illegal for you to record me, is it? There's a lot of witnesses over there at the Fred Meyer. A lot of them. A lot of people who are witnesses to the crimes committed against me. And how much of hell Molly put them through. I didn't put them through hell. Rob treated me like shit because Molly put me through hell. Put me through shit because I had to go to that environment to try to do this electronic shit, to try to make the phone calls. I shouldn't have to do that. And meanwhile, I gotta sit next to racist assholes who are ex-cops in this fucking town. There's no such thing as a good cop, and they've shown this. There's also other witnesses to other situations that happened that I got to see while I was there, because I can't go to those places anymore. Why can't I go to those places anymore? Because all of those people ignored the actual problem. I'm not being heard. They showed that I wasn't being heard. They didn't help how I needed. They had their own ideas about fixing it without the police, without addressing the issue or addressing the person who's being a vindictive and twisted cunt. They don't stop to realize that their temporary band-aid is not going to work. After that woman did that over there, tried to play like she was some horrible victim because I was a customer at fucking Starbucks? Are you fucking kidding me? But now, because the night that I was assaulted at the hospital, you get to see I was having a fucking mental breakdown over being fucking blown off by literally everyone. Everyone who worked there, they'd tell me their stories. You get to hear that. All of the staff over there at the Denny's telling me their stories. So all of the staff at Denny's are also witnesses, and so are my recordings. All of the staff at the Denny's. All of the staff at all three of the Starbucks here in town, the one up at the Safeway. Their cameras are also witnesses to the situation. And there were other people who were there that day when that 14-year-old girl was assaulted for trying to turn in her stepfather. Did her mother help her to turn in her stepfather? Or did she create a situation where that girl is never going to be heard from again? Or never going to be heard again? From here on in, that 14-year-old girl, for the rest of her life, has to be afraid, because anyone who wants to rape her can do so and call her mentally ill. Anyone who wants to beat on her can do so and call her mentally ill. It's her fault. Tillamook is a disgusting place. Most of my recordings are on my clandestine recording here it is. No. My clandestine recording device. Fuck, I lost it already. Jesus Christ. But you also get to hear how they pretend to be Christians. Pretend to be Christians. Oh, I'll pray for you. You'll pray for me. How pathetic. At least Brandy over there, she asked me, Brandy, who works at the Starbucks over at the Tillamook Fred Meyers. That's recorded, by the way. The situation with that old guy in the Fred Meyers. Wonderful life, isn't it? Right now I've got one of my predators who's messaging me over and over again. But, of course, it's not ringing or dinging now, it's just doing the vibrate thing. I don't know how I ended up turning my phone on to vibrate either. So if it rings, I might not hear it. There's also the witnesses at McDonald's, who I was every day, in the situation with Nick. But what is the likelihood of them coming forward about all the things that are actually recorded on my channel? Actually recorded. What are the chances of them being willing to come forward about that when the district manager for McDonald's is Nick and they know Nick doesn't like me? You get to see how they're same racist assholes. A lot of the stuff that you guys want to hate on me for repeating. I tell you that's my environment. I tell you that that's what I'm stuck with. A lot of times, just like that woman who wanted to go through the grocery store, and these men are looking at her camera. She's got a camera pointed at them. It's obvious that she's recording. They're looking at her camera. They're paranoid because they're men. But you also get to hear how they were still very, very much anti-LGBT. Any excuse, any excuse, any excuse. When I tell you I'm capable of doing those things too, I am. I am. I spare nobody a verbal lashing. I'll call out a racist hate group. I don't just call out the KKK. I also call out BLM. I get called an N-word lover for calling out the KKK. I get called a cracker for calling out BLM. I get called a racist for calling out BLM. Well, they're selling a very racist narrative. Poverty is the connector here. Poverty and gender. Poverty and gender. So there's a lot of witnesses over there at the Fred Meyers. There's a few other ones that work there that also spoke about it. But there's also the people who made it worse for me. The people who hold bias. Like that short shit who's an asshole who's over at the gas pumps with the Kansas City hat. He just wanted to be a jerk to somebody. He just wanted to be mean. And that lady, even though she was nice enough to pay for my gas, was condescending as fuck about it. I was glad to get 3/4 of a tank of gas. I very, very much needed it. But should I have endured that abuse? Should I have had to endure that abuse to get that 3/4 of a tank of gas? Many of you who help us seem to feel that way. You seem to feel that we should drop everything at a moment's notice, like I did for Brandon Ratner, like I did for Amy Witcher, like I did for Andrew Witcher, like I did for Natalie Bollinger, like I did for Bollinger, like I did for Bobby Forrest, like I did for Casey Kirwan, like I did for Hannah Pendergrast, like I did for Tara Lee Lawton, a.k.a. Tara Lee Hicks. At a moment's notice. You get to see how there's two types of people. There's the Robs of the world. Rob over at Fred Meyers, who is a sexist pig, who believes that it's okay to victimize a homeless victim for being victimized. Vicky Rain lives in a fucking trailer. She's got a roof over her head. She's got a roommate who will hopefully keep her safe. By the way, he was in prison because he was convicted. I was never convicted. Imagine that. How many times did Scott DaCosta commit felony after felony after felony before he was able to send me to prison for trying to turn in an assault by Robert Franklin fucking Warnick? By the way, after the first time that I tried to turn him in, it became illegal for the Nebraska State Patrol to ever tell me to go to Scott DaCosta again. It became a felony for them to say that. Because it was a lie. Because it's illegal for them to do that. And yet they did it anyway, over and over again. Sending my predators in law enforcement to investigate crimes against me. No, they came and intimidated me and threatened me. Refused to take a police report, refused to take an oral report, talked over me, talked down to me, anything but do their fucking jobs. And then I'm told I have to go to Scott DaCosta to turn in his deputies. Well, they're only doing this stuff because they work for Scott DaCosta, who's crooked as fuck. And that includes Leslie Snell and the felonies she committed. To assist them in having me imprisoned immorally and illegally. Then there's the prison, going out of their way to prevent me from having my rights to make phone calls to my fucking lawyer. Was it my fault or their clerical error? The physical and psychological damage that was done to me in that time is irreversible. What I needed is an actual loved one, someone who actually loved me. More than they love penis or vagina. More than they love cocaine or methamphetamine. Restricted call. Obviously, they hung up before I could even hit the I'm not going to fucking answer it button. And you guys want to pretend that these things don't happen. I understand that this is a safety risk. But what other options do I have when mental health places blow me off? And the police blow me off, and the witnesses blow me off, and I have to record them. I have to record the actual situations. And these people want to pretend like they're victims because I recorded abuse against myself and others. No, you're fucking not. The mother of that 14-year-old girl belongs in prison. If that little girl is cutting on herself right now, it's her mom's fault. Her mom's fault, not her stepdad's. Her stepdad is the abuser she was trying to turn in. It's because of how the cop and the hospital and her mother treated her when she tried to do that. And we have it recorded. People from Tillamook Family Counseling Center came down and conspired with her mother and stepfather after she was assaulted for trying to turn in her stepfather. Had to literally run away from home to get away from the abuse by her stepfather. And her friends were there trying to speak up about the abuse by her stepfather as well. And they came right next to my vehicle in public and conspired with her parents to have that little girl taken in on suicide watch, to be locked up, to be not heard, to be called mentally ill, to be diagnosed with something that'll make it okay that they didn't listen to her and that they ignore whatever it is that that man did to her. And now, no matter what, for the rest of her life, that's what she has to look forward to. Unfortunately, when she hits her 20s or early 30s, she's just going to blame all men. All men, because that sheriff's deputy was a piece of shit. Because her mother was a piece of shit. Because that police officer, that Tillamook police officer, who is also a witness, was a piece of shit. Because the people who showed up from Tillamook Family Counseling Center were pieces of shit. And I already know that as a disabled and homeless male, if I call it in, just like every other time I've called them in, they will not follow their protocol. They will ignore protocol every time. Because I don't have a friend or family member who actually gives a shit. Fuck this goddamn country. Thank goodness I've got YouTube.